I'm here in Westminster in the Foreign Office secret bunker. This room is where loads of officials behind me try their very best to help deal with everything that comes as a consequence of the war in Iran. And a big part of that, of course, is the evacuation of British nationals, whether they're stuck in Dubai, whether they're stuck in Israel. The people who help them get back home, who sort out all the worries, all the anxieties, all the concerns, are based right here in this underground bunker. So it's a very special place with a lot of important work going on behind me. But now I'm going to speak to someone who has had a very busy few weeks, and that is the Middle East Minister, Hamish Falconer, and we're going to be talking about what he's been doing in light of the war in Iran. The first thing that millions of our readers and viewers will want to know is what conversations you are having with your counterparts in the USA to encourage them to wind the war up, because the cost of living implications of ongoing conflict in the Middle East is going to hurt a lot of people. What are your counterparts saying, and what are you saying to them?
Well, we've of course been speaking to everyone across the region and indeed the United States about this conflict. I know how many of your readers will be concerned, and so many people across the country will be concerned by what they see in the markets. We are taking active steps to try and manage that. The Chancellor and the Energy Secretary have set out a little bit of that in the last few days. But obviously, at its core, we need to see stability return to the region. We need to see the Straits of Hormuz reopen. The Foreign Secretary is in the region today, and that's what we're working towards every day.
And speaking of stability, can the region be stable while the mad mullahs stay in charge in Iran? Do you want to see regime change come out of this conflict, and how possible do you think that is?
Look, the nature of the Iranian regime is primarily a question for the Iranians themselves, but I'll tell you what Britain wants to see out of an Iranian government. It wants to see a government which stops pursuing nuclear weapons. We want to see a government which stops threatening people on the streets of the UK. We want to see a government that stops recklessly attacking its neighbours and stops supporting proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis, which are such a threat to regional and global stability. That's what we want from a future Iranian government.
So to be clear, you wouldn't join in calls from, say, some Iranian dissidents for people in the country to get out on the street and kickstart a revolution that could potentially bring back the monarchy or democracy. You want people to stay at home as it stands.
So those are questions for Iranians, not for British ministers. We are clear what we want from an Iranian government, but the nature of the Iranian government is a question for the Iranians.
Now, the Chagos Islands have played a part in this conflict, namely with Donald Trump requesting use of the archipelago to send off US planes. I think something your department has really struggled with is justifying why we are paying to cede this vital territory to Mauritius, all because some human rights lawyers have said that's what we need to do, when frankly, the real superpowers in the world, America, China, they couldn't give two hoots about international law. So why are we degrading ourselves in a way that they would refuse to do so?
So there's obviously been an issue about the operation of the joint base on the Chagos Islands. That's why the previous government started all of those rounds of negotiations. And it's been something that we have discussed in detail with the American administration, looking to preserve our interests and their interests in the operation of a really important joint base. Now, obviously, there's been quite a lot of commentary recently about that deal. We're continuing to talk to our American counterparts about that. But what are we trying to do here? It's not satisfy human rights lawyers, it's make sure that a joint base, which is really important to us, really important to the Americans, can continue to operate in the same effective way that it has so long.
But there still hasn't been an explanation about how this is anything other than satisfying the demand of human rights lawyers. And now the Americans are done with this deal. Could you see an option whereby Donald Trump actually buys the island?
So I can't see an option where the president buys the island. We're committed to the deal that we have struck. It is one that we've done in close consultation with our allies. And I appreciate, Noah, that it will be frustrating for your readers not to be able to understand a little bit more about the nature of the base and the nature of the risks that we're trying to manage. It's obviously a very sensitive base, and so we can't talk in huge amount of detail about how it operates or what our worries are. for obvious national security reasons. But you have my word, it is not an anxiety about human rights lawyers that is driving the actions of this British government, or indeed, I think, the previous British government.
And on to life in the Gulf. A lot of people's favourite Love Islanders or influencers are not having the best time out there. We've seen a bit of their tragic videos on social media. But also, there are actual real families who are not just influencers out there who are really being affected by this conflict. Do you think that they will ever experience life as they have been in the Gulf again, or has this changed the way that Brits will live in the region forever?
Well, look, we want stability to return to the Gulf. We are working hard to get all British nationals who want to get home. I'm really pleased that we've now had 63,000 get home. There's still more to come. If you are worried, if you're a Sun reader and you're worried about either yourself or your loved one, do call the Foreign Office. You can see the crisis centre behind me. They're working each and every hour of the day to try and get people home. The number is 0207 008 5000. Obviously, some people do want to come home, even long-term residents in the Gulf. And if you have a British passport or you're entitled to one, the Foreign Office will help you get home. And that's what everybody behind me is working so hard on.
And just a question quickly on the culture in the Foreign Office. There's been a lot of commentary from former staff here that too many people are distracted by woke schemes, that during the fall of Afghanistan, people were invited to talk about World Afro Day rather than focusing on the world going up in flames, and that the international development side of the Foreign Office have too much power over their woke ideological pursuits rather than the hardcore realpolitik. What do you have to say to that criticism? Is it something you recognise?
Well, no, I'm unusual in the minister in that I was in the Foreign Office and I was in literally the room that we're standing in on the day of the fall of Afghanistan. And I know how hard people then and people now work on the vital questions that your readers are interested in, which is rescuing people from harm's way, making sure that there aren't threats to British interests. I was here on that day. I do not remember any emails about World Afro Day. I remember emails about getting our allies, our friends and British nationals out of Afghanistan in a really, really difficult moment. I think I spent the next 6 months in a little room around the corner working really hard alongside a really dedicated team of Foreign Office people, both people who had worked, as I had, in the FCO and people who'd worked in DFID. Everybody in this department understands that their first duty is to help British nationals in times of challenge, to protect British interests, but also to live British values overseas. And our aid programmes do really important work in a lot of important places. So I don't recognise those claims at all, and I'm proud of what the people behind me are doing.
Current Foreign Office advice, if you are a British national living in the Gulf, in the likes of Dubai or Abu Dhabi, what should you be doing at this time?
So I think our advice is that you should continue to follow what the local authorities are telling you. You should think about whether it's safe for you to travel out if you want to do that. And if you have any concerns at all, you should get in touch with the Foreign Office and we can offer you advice and assistance. And in particular, if you're worried because you're vulnerable or you need extra assistance, that's absolutely when you should pick up the phone to us, and we have 24/7 helplines where you can get experts who can give you really good advice on what your options are.
And if you are a British national in the Middle East and you've decided you want to return to the UK, what are the steps you take to do that?
Well, the great news is that across the Middle East, in many places, commercial capacity is really coming online. So there are increasingly options at a reasonable price to get back to a whole range of British airports. So that is terrific news, and we here are really happy about that. So first of all, talk to airlines, talk to your travel provider. And if you're still in difficulty, if you still need help, reach out to us on our 24/7 number, and we will try to put you in contact either with an airline who can help you, or will support you in other ways. So there are options coming.
And one more, if you are a holiday maker and you had plans to travel to the likes of Dubai for a holiday, whether it's in a few weeks' time or a few months' time, what is the advice around travel for leisure in the region?
So absolutely, I think it's about reading our travel advice, which is available for each country, and making sure you understand that and you're making sensible choices about what that means for you. And if you have questions, again, get in touch with us on our 24/7 consular advice line, and we'll try to help you further.